Hello, Twitch and or YouTube subscribers. Thank you for coming on my channel. Got an exciting time for you today. I'm going to be continuing some of my work on Definitely Typed. Interestingly enough, Twitch chat seems to have saved on my stream, so I've just now gone and reset it. So that's a whole thing. All right, there we go. Oh, almost. Still working with the OBS. So what are we talking about today? What's happening? DefinitelyTyped-tools is the repo that includes infrastructure for Definitely Typed. Definitely Typed is the repo and org that has high quality TypeScript type definitions, all the third-party types for TypeScript libraries. So if you ever had to say install @type/node to get node types, or @type/react to get types for React and React code, that's what's stored there. There is a search engine, aka the ms/types, where you can search for things, let's say React, and learn whether they have types provided as a typed React or types/package, or just built in the way, say, React Redux does. Any curiosity, is Astro on here? Hey, they've got their own types, good stuff. All these Astro things have their own types, very nice. Cool. Unfortunately, Definitely Typed right now is linted with tslint. It is doing this just because of legacy. tslint, the old Palantir repo, is archived. It is read-only, hasn't been committed to since 2021, but really got deprecated in 2019. Like, really deprecated. Like, we should not be using this anymore. The November 1st, 2019 was stop accepting features or rule enhancements. Jan 1st, 2020 was stop accepting anything except security fixes and breaking TypeScript changes. So don't use tslint. Use ESLint with TypeScript ESLint, one of the projects that I work on, TypeScriptESLint.io. Now, one of the big problems with migrating from tslint to ESLint is that it's a breaking change. It's a completely different tool. So unfortunately, some folks are still on the old infrastructure, like the Definitely Typed tools. I've been sending pull requests, and I'm actually not the only one to do this. One of your fellow Twitch subscriber viewer folks, a nice person named Alex Munoz, also sent one. And the goal here is to, for each rule, convert it from, where's the deleted file? Here we go, the deleted, nope, where did the file go? Export just namespace rule.ts. Oh, I forgot to delete the file. Well, there's an old tslint rule format that is stored, and then a new ESLint one. So I'm gonna quickly check out this PR 517 and delete the file that I was supposed to. Oh, nice, it's the same one. Export namespace, whatever, rule ts. Oops. Forgot to delete file. All right. And the most important part of any good open source activity is the community. I'm going to tweet about it. Like and subscribe. So first commit of the day, or of the stream. I think I was coding at like 6 or so in the morning. Couldn't sleep. All right, first commit of the stream. Deleting a file from this thing that I'd forgotten to last week. I streamed this in a previous stream if you're curious. All right. Huh, the Twitter preview hasn't updated to show that the PR is ready for review. By the way, shout out, thank you everyone who's already joined, all one or two of you. If you have any questions or things you want to talk about, feel free to ask. I'm always happy to chat. Next up is continuing down the list of, they're still on the master naming convention. Somehow my repo got weird. Okay, so going down the rules, I've just been going in alphabetical rule. There was, let's look at what else I've done. Pulls / Joshua K. Goldberg. Fun fact, github/org/repo/pulls/ your username shows you all the pull requests you've sent. I've gotten through DT header. Expect rule, if I remember right, is covered in some other thing. If you can hear the ambulance, that's New York City yelling at the stream. I have come to detest this cesspool that I live in, and I'm moving to Philly. New York City is fun, though. Would recommend. All right. No any union is also in a TypeScript ESLint rule. Including any in the union will override all the members of the union, so I'm just going to skip that for now. Bad reference. This one is new. I haven't looked at this. Forbid reference path equals ... etc. in any file, and forbid reference path in test files. Huh. Don't use reference path to reference another package. Use an import or reference types instead. Okay, so don't use paths. Use types. Got it. TypeScript Tea Time. That is a great username. I love it. Oh yeah, I'm following you. Hello. Welcome. Thanks for coming over. I'll offer you the normal deal. If you want to chat or ask any questions, talk about whatever you want, feel free to pipe up. I'm always happy to chat. I also should note, now I'm getting more folks, if you're curious about how TypeScript ESLint rules work, there's this great tour de source article we worked on with one of my favorite companies, SourceGraph, which goes really well in depth on how TypeScript ESLint works. Has some nice little source code embeds for some of our smaller rules. It's good stuff. So my goal here is now for this stream to convert this rule from TSLint to ESLint. Oops, I made a change. First thing is making a new file under the new naming convention. No bad reference.ts. Next up is I'm just going to copy from some other rule. Oops. I have a PR open. I'll just copy from the PR file. Well, better late than never. Yeah, I'm actually really bad at catching people's Twitch streams. I feel like I'm always missing out. I feel bad. But okay, so the first part of creating a rule is using the create rule function, which I have noted is in thank you, I appreciate your kind words. Always appreciate a smile on the internet. We in TypeScript ESLint export a utils package that has ESLint utils.ruleCreator, which is a function that lets you describe how your rules names map to the documentation source. Just going to go ahead and expand this. And in all of my PRs, since none of them have merged yet, I've been going to the dtslint util file. I'm just going to close that for now, and then exporting this. Just to make it easier to share things. So all the rules use the same create rule. Might as well just import create rule from util. There we go. Cool beans. You know, I'm in a good mood today. I don't know why, but I feel like this stream's going to be good. Life is progressing. And there was another change that I'd done. Oh yeah, in index.test.ts, the way that the TSLint tests work, there's like a recursive file structure checker, but now I'm adding more individual test files, so I just needed to modify the changes here a little bit. I'll skim over this a little bit because I've done this in a few streams and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but these rule tests read the directory of tester, then for each test name, if it's got a tslint.json, then it's a tslint test, otherwise it's a directory and we test what's inside of it. That's no longer the case because I'm going to start adding tests like this one in the existing PR, which is just a new test file. So instead of manually excluding index.ts, I skip recursing on sub-files and only recurse on directories. It's just infrastructure specific to this repo. And statsync comes from fs. And this is out of, duplicate info, rs. All right, time to start on the rule. No bad reference, no bad reference. TSLint on the left, ESLint on the right. I'll go over how these are structured. On the right, we have metadata here in this object. On the left, it's a slightly different object. So I'm just gonna copy over rule name, no bad reference, description, copy and paste. Ooh, this is gonna have to be template strings because it has double quotes. All right, and ESLint rules, in my experience, I've said phrases like forbids rather than forbid. Yay. Messages. So in TSLint, you could log any string you wanted, and although that's technically true in ESLint, we generally prefer message IDs. So you have like a nice list up here of the exact things you might log. A little more testable too. So I'm gonna copy this over and what should we call this thing? Don't use reference path to reference another package, use an import of reference types. So I'm gonna call this reference path. And then we have another one. Ooh, hold, cat time. This little turd is Lucy. She was resting in the window. She's very passive, but she's been known to scratch. Lucy wanted out. She's very cute, but also has been known to scratch. All right, and then the second message, reference path test, I guess, or this could be like reference path package, and then this is reference path test. I like where this is going. These names make sense to me. Do I need backticks here? No. Okay. All right. So schema is an empty object. Fun fact, I did not choose this. It's actually Lucy with an I. We adopted her when she was 7. We think she's the devil, but what do we know? But thank you. I would say she says hello, but she's a cat. And I'm not one of those people that says their cat says things. Okay. So this is interesting. I've never seen this before. The TSLint rule, instead of looking at the AST nodes, your parent's cow is named Satan. I love it so much. That's awesome. Was the cat good? Like, did the cat actually act like Satan? Cats are fun. So, we don't have to go into ASTs, like what nodes are, because this doesn't even use it. Instead, what we're going to, deleting all this code. What we're going to talk about is source file.reference files. I've never actually used this property. This is in the TypeScript types. TypeScript stores a Satan. I'm sorry for your brother. That's great. Source files, the objects that TypeScript creates to refer to your source files, can store a bunch of properties like their file name and their text. They're actually technically a kind of node. Interestingly enough, node refers to anything in your files, like a function declaration, like the range of text. So I guess reference files is an array of file references, which a resolution mode is whether it's common JS or ESNext or undefined, sure, fine, whatever. And it has file name, interesting. So I can actually just basically copy and paste this over. But there are a few problems here. For starters, context.add failure, it's actually ESLint now, it's called context.reports. And then the position is, or it takes in slightly different stuff. So to start, it's message ID, something. We'll figure out the location next. Message ID, look at this lovely little TypeScript type inference, courtesy of TypeScript ESLint. So this one is package, the first one, and the next one is reference path test. The next complaint is that location is missing, which needs a starts, which requires like line and column, which I'm just gonna hard code as 1 and 0 and 1 and 1 for start and end. Then I'm gonna put to do, because I don't yet know how to actually get the location of what we should be complaining on. All right. Next up, I'm going to clean up this code a little bit. I don't like indentation, so I'm just going to say invert if reduce nesting. That's like a catchphrase of mine, meaning instead of saying if something and then a bunch of stuff in the, oh wait, no, the if statement, never mind. The if statement does actually like have an else. So never mind that. Okay. Source file though. So the big breaking change, the problem with going from tslint to ESLint is that they use different ASTs or representations of your source code. If we hop on over to astexplorer.net and then just look at like let message equals hello. Here we have the TypeScript ESLint parser, which stores it as a variable declaration. This is the abstract syntax tree, or AST. Variable declaration has an array of declarations. Variable declarator has an ID and an init. That's the format that TypeScript ESLint uses, which is a superset of the format ESLint uses. We just add TypeScript things. Unfortunately, TypeScript itself uses a different format. It's variable statement with a declaration list and name and initializer instead of ID and init. So in TypeScript ESLint, although the context has the ESLint or ESTree format, we can still map back to the TypeScript format. If you do context get, what is it? Get parser services, yeah. ESLint utils. So I'm trying to remember where these things come from. All right. So ESLint utils is an object that has a bunch of utilities on it. ESLint utils.get parser services. Context const services equals ESLint utils get parser services, and then services dot program. Ooh, good question. What is the difference between the AST formats from? Why are they different? Yeah, it's a bit historical. TypeScript and ESTree were in large part developed in isolation from each other. And I think I forget which one came first. I know that they now know of each other, but TypeScript has a different developer team than the open source stuff. Sorry, the other open source stuff. They're both open source. So TypeScript, for its own sake, because the AST is already a different format, they don't there wouldn't be much benefit for them trying to standardize in the future. So they just have their own AST format, and that's pretty much how it's going to be for a while. No, I don't think they're ever going to change theirs. It'd be a very big breaking change. So yeah, history. Good question. Thank you for asking. So if we get services dot ESTree node to TS node map, that's a map that takes in ES ES tree nodes, so the ESL nodes, and can give you back the TypeScript ones. So if we do context dot get source code, no, dot AST, there we go. I'm guessing this should TSAST. Guessing this should give us back the TypeScript AST. We'll figure out if I'm doing this right in the tests. Also just gonna ESAST just to make things simpler to read each line. So I'm getting the services, which is the like fancy services TypeScript ESLint gives us to map between TypeScript and ESLint ASTs and also give type information. Here I'm getting the ESAST, so ESLint AST. And then I'm also using that to map to the TypeScript AST, the source file. I think this should work, but I'm not sure. We'll find out when we run tests. But the nice thing is, actually, I'm going to rename the ES source file and then TS source file because that's actually what they are. And now I should be able to do the same thing here as the TSLint rule. Nice. I'm also just going to write a real quick utility function report reference. I'm going to call these reference. I've always been a fan of explicit long names to make them easier to understand. So the report function will take in reference files and message ID, and it'll just call context.report. So here I'm going to report on, oops, I meant to call it reference file singular. Hello, Livestream7, thanks for joining. How are you? I am going through and converting old TSLint rules from DefinitelyTyped infrastructure to ESLint. I just started to pick up TypeScript. It's interesting, not used to it, but slowly getting there. I can see the advantages as the app gets larger. Yeah, TypeScript gets more and more valuable the more code you have. That's absolutely true. Welcome to TypeScript. How are you finding it? Is it treating you well? I really like it, so yay. Oops. One of the problems with TypeScript, of course, is that not everyone is using it, but we're fixing that slowly over time. Also, TypeScript sometimes gives you any as a suggestion for, right, because they're calling context.report here, and that's wrong. All right, let's try to infer parameter types from usage. All right, inferred string from message ID, which, what we really want is this. Or I'm just going to make a type for it. To recap, these are the types of messages, the string names, there we go. For the message codes, we might report as a complaint in this rule. Here we go. Oh yeah, it's a learning curve. Is learning curve the right word? It's something to get used to, yeah. Having to type everything. If you're passing down props, I'm guessing you're working in like Angular or something like that. Or React is what I meant to say. I don't know why I said Angular. I'm doing a Angular thing later today. Maybe that's it. But all right, it looks like this file is looking good. I've got just to recap, a bit of logic here. Given the ESLint source file, I get the TypeScript source file equivalent. And then I do the same logic in the new ESLint rule as the old TSLint rule. I, for each referenced file, ask, is it a declaration file? If so, does it start with dot dots? If not, just always report. Yay, React! That's my favorite. Although I've been meaning to rewrite my personal website, and I'm thinking going with like Astro and Solid just to try something new. React is great. Love React. All right. So how do we test these changes? To start, so I don't forget this time, LOL, I'm going to delete no bad reference. Next up, I'm going to look at the old PR, or the previous PR I sent. You know what? It's been a while since we've tweeted. I'm just going to tweet what I'm doing. I feel like it's a good idea to keep the thread updated. And there it is. In progress now, converting this thing to ESLint with, I'll just say converting this thing. No bad reference rule. Okie dokie. Does my work use TypeScript? Fun fact, I'm actually a full-time open source developer, which is a lot of fun. You can sponsor me on github.com/sponsor/Joshua K. Goldberg. You can also sponsor TypeScript ESLint. I'm answering your legitimate, interesting technical question with a bunch of advertisements, sorry. You can sponsor us on TypeScript ESLint for this kind of work. We're very important for the TypeScript community. But when I did have a job, yes. I used to work at Codecademy, which was TypeScript. I actually led the conversion from JavaScript to TS for Codecademy. And then before that, I worked at Microsoft and front-end teams, which then very much used TypeScript. Most companies that I've seen these days do use TypeScript. Thank you, appreciate it. I'm trying to make open source sustainable so I can do it long term. I don't know how long that's going to last, if it'll even happen, if I'll get to sustainability, but it's fun so far. And it means I get to work on cool stuff like helping kill the old TSLint, which is going to be a big step forward for DefinitelyTyped tooling, and in turn, somewhat slightly useful for types everywhere. Yay! But okie dokie. Going back to the tests. By the way, great question. Feel free to ask more. This is how the tests look now. You write a new test file under dtslint/test. I'm going to call this nobadreference.testts. And I'm just going to copy over this stuff and rename some things. So instead of export just namespace, it's nobadreference. I love it when people join the stream who are relatively new to coding and see how much I copy and paste. This is honestly a small amount of copy pasta compared to some of the streams. The way ESLint tests work, by the way, I actually have come to really like. You use this rule tester thing, which we wrap around and do funky stuff with to make useful in type system land under ESLint utils. You provide a list of invalid cases, which is code along with the array of at least one error it's expected to give. And you also give an array of valid cases. So my job here now is to clean these up based on the old tests, like the old no bad reference tests, of which I see there are 2. So I might add some more tests. The old TSLint format had you writing .ts.lint files with little squigglies and messages under those squigglies. Very different format. Easier to do like a big file with a lot of things in it, which is kind of nice, and you got to see the messages in line, but harder to do different cases, and people tended to write fewer tests this way. Pros and cons. Ooh, how long have I been doing front end for? Good question. Ignoring my tinkering with a portfolio site in high school, I started doing JavaScript in 2012, 2011? I would say 2011. No, it was probably 2012. That was in college. I was bored in psych class. Shout out Professor Hubble at RPI. Very entertaining professor, I will say. Yeah, I did a first internship summer 2012 where I did the front end of a website. That was like my first sort of professional experience with it. And then I interned at Microsoft in 2014 after 2 years of interning at the previous place. And then from there, I've kind of been doing a lot more front end. My first full-time experience was middle of 2015 though. So however you count years. What about you? As I go through and change these test files up. I need to get better at answering that question. I feel like I'm like long and winding in my response. Alright. If we go to CD packages, oh wait, no, there's like, I remember this now, there's a hobby started. Oh, I love it. So you've been around the block, you've seen things. Front end is fun. It's always changing though. Like even in the 2 years, I bet a lot of wacky stuff is different now. Yard test. All right, so I mean, just remember DTS-lint has this like different test setup thing going on. So I'm gonna do config with the root and no bad reference. So this says, actually I can just simplify this, npx jest with the config and the root of the repo, and I just want to run on the no bad reference files, which has just one. Oh boy. Ooh, this means I'm probably going to have to change my approach. This is really interesting. TypeScript ESLint has a major disadvantage compared to the TSLint. Not saying we should go back to TSLint, but that there are always pros and cons with re-architectures. TypeScript ESLint, by default, does not use or create type information with files. When I say type information, what I mean is if you go to your file and say like let value equals hello, and then later on you ask what value is, the type knows that it's value string. This is more than the AST. This is type information. Just the AST would know that this is an identifier whose name is value, and if you wanted to, you could look through just this file and see that value is this variable, and if you wanted to go really advanced, you can see that it's a string, but like if you do import value from stuff that has no TS information, what type is value? We don't know. Now, TSLint did this for you with TypeScript, which meant it was a little slower by default, but worked well with performance at scale. We have some performance issues for larger code bases in TypeScript ESLint because ESLint was never architected for this. But anyway, long story short, you have to use parser services, which is a good, more expensive thing to use type information rules. And unfortunately, it looks like we have said that in order to get parser services with the ES3 to TS node map at all, you need type information. So the approach I'm taking here is probably not the right approach. I'm taking the approach of using type information to figure out these reference paths, but in reality, I could just look at the comments of the source code. In TSLint, it didn't matter which one. The source file dots referenced files was probably cleaner. Actually, I think it is a very clean way to do this. But in ESLint land, I think it'll be better for the end user to look at comments, so we don't have to go through the performance hassle of generating parser services and types and the whole thing. So how do we look at comments? First, I'm just gonna go ahead and move this function. I guess it's fine where it is. ES source file is, I'm just gonna delete. I don't need services anymore because I don't want to get them, so I can delete all that stuff. I'm just gonna call this AST again. AST equals context.sourceFile, or what do I actually need here? I'm gonna go try to set up auth. Okay, good luck with that. Bye, livestream. Thanks for coming. All right. Fortunately, there are comments that we have access to. Lats.comments. I'm curious, can you put a / reference types equals whatever, like inside your code? I don't know if it works, but I'll just do it anyway. So I'm not, in theory, I could filter just comments at the beginning of the file. I feel like I don't need to do that. So comments, and then I'm gonna filter. I'm not going to go too fancy. I could do like a filter map to like use a regular expression and then just get the valid comments, but that's getting complicated. So I'm just going to say get the comments, and then for comment of comments. Oh, but I need to know whether it's a declaration file. How does it know that? If TS source file is, oh wait, it's just the file name. Oh my god. Whew. So let's AST. Wait. I need to get both the AST and the file name. I'm getting confused. All right. Source code dot get file name. How do I get the file name? Oh my god, context. All right. So I can go back to my comments here. All right. So is declaration file is whether this ends with d.ts. There might be a fancier way of determining this, like maybe they're edge cases like d.mts or d.tsx, but I don't think those exist. And if they do, I don't think they're showing up indefinitely typed often. So this will show up in code review if it needs to. All right. Alex, hello. Welcome back. I don't know if you're here, but I shouted out. You still got your PR under review. I'm very excited about that. I'm working on another rule. Yeah. So here I was trying to use partial services, but I can't because that would imply, or that would cause slower lint times on Definitely Typed. And Definitely Typed has, I think 5,000 or 7,000 or how many types exist in Definitely Typed /types? It's a lot. They can only show the first 1,000. Oh yeah, 8,210 things to lint in theory. So performance is important. So now I'm looking at the comments in the source files, and the lint rule. You can see the errors it gives here. I'm gonna have to look at the comment text. So here I'm gonna need to get const reference match equals, and I'm going to write some kind of regular expression on the comments value. Value is the comment text? Yeah, string. Okay. Oh, does anyone remember? There's like a really good regular expression visualizer. I forget where it is. Regexper? Is this the one? No, there's a different regexer. This one. Yeah. So reference path equals last. So like I'm gonna try to get reference path equals, and then it's dot plus to capture anything, at least one of anything, and then I have to escape this. Oh my god, look at this. Yes. All right, and then the capturing group is this. Okay, wow, that was much faster than I thought it would be. So if I copy and paste here, it's not test. Oh yeah, that reminds me, I should post this in the chat. Regex 101. Ooh, let me look at that. Is this another one of these? Oh, this is beautiful. Look at this. PCRE. They support PHP, other languages. Cool. Let me take the same path here. See how that gets visualized. Oh yeah, wow, look at this. This is really nice. Oh, I love it. I like this more. Thank you. I'm gonna give a shout out here on Twitter. And where's the thread? Shout out. I think this is you, Tea Time, based off the logo. I think. For this is really sweet. This is a really, I don't want to be too vague. Whoop! Anyone gives me a tool, I shout them out. You help my life, I bleat on social media in your praise. All right, so now I want to do, what is it, comment.value.match? I can't remember these dang APIs. Yeah, there we go. Reference match. Win-win! If it exists, and then I want the first one. All right, so just to check this out, I'm gonna open a node terminal and then reference path equals flats. I'm gonna have to tilde this. Nice. And then when we don't match, or when we have spaces. So this is actually something. Oh yeah, responding to Alex. Yeah, that PR might take a little while. This is actually, by the way, with the regular expression, something I learned at Codecademy a few times working on content. Codecademy, not all, but some of the tests that they use to validate user submissions and give you feedback use regular expressions, which is, you'd think that that's not the right way, like shouldn't we match on AST, but like users write some wacky stuff and sometimes regular expressions are actually the cleanest way to check for it. But like, what if they put like reference space path? Well, now you have to use at least one space there. And same with this. What if you do like reference path equals what and then no space before the thing? So replace spaces. And this can be dot, it can be asterisk. It doesn't have to exist. That's the difference between plus and star. Plus is at least one, star is any number. Now we can also have any amount of space here, I think. I'm not sure, but I think. Like before and after the equal sign. And before you know it, your regular expression looks incomprehensible. Yeah, actually, let me go back to my playground. So like, let's say we want to reference types process.env. Reference types. Oh, interesting. Wait, this is great. I can validate whether TypeScript supports this format based off of whether they're squigglies. I guess, yeah. You can't have before the reference and after the, okay, that's good to know. Can you have it there? Yeah, I guess that doesn't matter. The regular expression doesn't specify it has to be at the beginning of the string for the match. All right. Ooh, I don't like that they both have a leave? Question mark. Annoying. All right. Okay. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep looping through all comments. People don't generally write these unless it's at the top of the file. All right. So referenced match. So report on, not the referenced file now, but we're reporting on the comment, which is actually easier. Can we prefix, for a parameter type? Comment from, yeah, no, that's a giant thing. We typically do TSES tree for the types dot comment. ESLint APIs are nice. Instead of providing a manual location, you can alternately provide node. So that's easier. And in fact, I'm just going to call this node so that we can object shorthand it. Also, look at this, collapsing the lines. Ugh, simpler. And you know what? There's not even a need for this function anymore because, well, it's one line and it's barely more code. So I'm just going to do context.reports. Look at this beautiful multi-select. Message ID is that thing, and then comment or node is comment. And you know, I'm just gonna split this across lines because I think it looks a little better. All right. Okay. So now this whole shebang, oh my God, look at all these deletions I can do. This whole shebang means instead of using TypeScript to parse our tree, we're actually going to be a little more speedy, a little more performant here. it's gonna just look at the comments and the source file name. If we go back to our tests, let's see how they work. All right. Well, the tests run. They're complaining that the errors are not what we expect, which kind of makes sense because I'm not actually checking anything. So let's look at some error cases. Let's do like an unrelated comment, similar reference. Just to make sure that it handles weird edge cases well. Valid would also be / reference path equals foo. Like that should be valid. Why is this not splitting across lines? What are you doing, prettier? And then let's also do one where we have multiple reference comments. I don't like foo. Foo is vague. A lot of people come in not knowing what it means. Let's call it other, and then other two. Let's rerun our tests and see what valid gives. These should all be reported as valid. Oh, so this is complaining. This is actually good. This is great. Don't use reference path in test files. Use reference types or include the file in tsconfig.json. It's saying that because these, what is it? Last two. Yeah, just the ones that say reference. These haven't specified a custom file name, and I think I'm gonna have to, because I think the default file name is actually like a test file name. Or it's not a declaration file, it's like test.ts or file.ts or something. But what we want to do is file name like types.dts or something like that. There we go. So the rule knows that these are valid and allowed in test files. Excuse me, DTS files. All right. And just in case anyone was wondering, when is this going to be applicable? This is an internal rule. This is only used for the definitely typed repo. And I think other people who might be using DTS lints, but that's really not something most people use. Like people typically use like TSD or TS expect error. Like this is just for linting definitely typed types in that one repo. But great, all the valids work, and now let's add some invalids. What I'm going to look at here first are the existing tests. In this file, test TSLint, it's saying that this should be an error. It should give you an error on line 1 with the message ID, reference path. I forget. Let's run the test and see what it should be. Reference path test. Okay. And you know what? I'm just going to specify file name here because I'm getting confused about what the default is, and I think it's good to be explicit when something is confusing. So if it's a declaration file and the reference starts with ... so this is a ... You know what? Oh, what is this supposed to be? This is supposed to be file name test, file name test TS. Oops, I added too much nesting. Whoopsie whoopsie. I'm just going to be explicit like that. And then another error from the same file is other. The same message, but on foo. Ooh, interesting. It is, the squiggly here is on a specific range in the comments that I'm going to have to, oh boy, I'm going to have to match on. Maybe my report function was useful after all. When you pass in a node to context.report, it reports on the whole node, but I'm going to have to report on just part of it. Let's look at this refactoring, by the way. Report, which takes in a comment, and I'm going to also take in a message ID, which I just deleted. Annoying. Let's multi-select here. Boop. Paste up there. And message ID equals, voila, we have a message ID type. And where is report? Comments, tses tree.comment, and message ID is this. All right, so we're not commenting or reporting rather on node. We are again reporting on a location with a start. Oh, what is it? Position is allowed. All right, so it's location with an end and is starts. Is end allowed to be a number here? No, it's just position, line and column. All right, these both have line, column. I am a maniac, so I do everything alphabetical. By the way, I'm not using Vim. I've had people ask, how are you typing so quickly? I just use the native VS Code shortcuts on my keyboard. Learn them, they will serve you well. All right, so comment has location dot, ooh. Does this have a column and line? Oh, freaking New York. This city is freaking terrible. I hate this city. I love this city, but I hate this city so much. I don't know if y'all can hear the ambulances. People always dying and whatever. All right. So the column is going to be the same as comment. Oh, sorry, not the column. The line for both of these is going to be the same as the comments. So block dot start to line. It should be the same between the end and the start for column, but whatever. You know what? I'm just going to do column. I hate this city so much. I hate it. And column would be comment dot last value dot last index of. This is probably not the right way to do it. And then the start is comment dot value dot index of. But like, you know what? I don't have the energy to deal with. I don't know, doing it right. Meep meep. Yeah, that's what's happening here. Okay. Oops. All right. Report. Up. So we should have line 1 and then column starting at, what is this? 21. And end column at 27, I think. But interestingly, note this squiggly is inside the quotes, so I think I should +1 the start. I'm gonna do that because it's just inside the quotes. And then the last index, I think we can leave as is, I think. Not sure, but all right. Here it's again column 21 to start, but the end, because it's the same prefix, but then the end column is 24. I might be off by 1 here. Let's run the test and find out. 20 and, okay, so I'm off by 1. That makes sense. And then I bet you the end column is also now going to complain about being off. Yep. Oh, it's off by -1, the other way. Okay. I trust you. Oh, right, because it's a different name. I added a couple of characters. Okay, nice. -1 + 2, that's good enough. All right, so I have copied this test over its cases. And now I have to also copy this test over, where the file name is test.dts. Or I'm going to be consistent, call them all types. TS. And now this should be a ... This should actually be a copy of the first one, but the message ID is now reference path. package. And let's see what's doing. Yay, they all pass. Love it. That means I can delete my old test files for no bad reference. Goodbye. Happy times. And I can make a pull request. Git status. Converted, no bad reference. What do I call these? I'm just going to go from the same naming convention as the other one. From TSLint to ESLint. TSLint to ESLint. And I'm going to make this a draft pull request to start so I can post on Twitter and then wait for CI to finish. Because I have a couple others in review and I don't want to spam too much. So let's tweet about it. Yay. And post in the chat. Ooh, yes. All right. Do I have any notifications? Wow, no. I managed 2 hours without notifications popping up on GitHub. This is a record. So I finished that, and I don't really want to do another one because I only have, I don't know, 20 minutes at most left in my energy levels. I didn't sleep much last night. So let's look at my issue review queue for TypeScript ESLint and the PR review queue. Maybe knock out one or two. All right. So pull requests. These three are chunky, so I'm not going to review them on the stream. I don't think they're actionable right here. All right. Oh yeah. So we had an issue with the explicit member accessibility rule. Actually, wait, let me keep forgetting. Let me post this on Twitter. This is going to be juicy. Switching over to reviewing issues and the PRs on TSCSLint. Now, first up, this friend. So we have this explicit member accessibility rule that asks you to either always or never, or in some situations, explicitly put public, private, or protected on your methods and other class properties and members. The rule is fixable, but it only works for accessibility no public, but not for accessibility explicit, which is the default. And Brad Zacher, one of the maintainers who has more experience in it than me, said this is by design. The rule is not intended to automatically add public every for you. It's intended to make you think about what accessibility you should be using for your members. Is public really the right accessibility to use for the member you just wrote? This is a great question. Oftentimes it's not. So an autofixer would kind of lead people astray. If we simply autofixed every case to public, then it would defeat the purpose of the rule. Just move that away. So that issue was closed, and then 2 days ago, someone sent a PR trying to fix it. That's not how that works, but fine. They added an autofixer anyway. Then Brad posted, hey, as per the issue, we won't be adding autofix. So a little more explanation, but we could make this a suggestion fixer. I agree. So ESLint rules used to not have this. But you can add, instead of fix reports, like, hey, this is how to fix the code to be correct, you could also add a suggestion, which is similar, but not automatically applied when you run ESLint -- fix. So that's what they added in this PR. They added a suggestion fixer. Yeah, okay, this PR looks reasonable. I will try it out. So let's go on over, code TypeScript ESLint. Oh boy, what wild and wacky things was I working on? Git checkout main, git pull upstream main, git push, because I'm working on a fork, GHPR checkout this thing. So I'm now on the PR's branch. And a yarn and yarn build just to get things hydrated locally. Let's look at the changes. So it's mostly in explicit member accessibility. I'm just going to go over to that file. Meta has suggestions true. This is now true. And we have 3 new modifiers. Immediately I'm just looking at this. There are 3 of them, but they're all the same except for the type. Do these need to be? If I go to add public. No. We could combine these. Notice how there's this little mustache / handlebar style template. I forget which one is used internally by ESM, but it's one of those. Add missing accessibility, or add explicit accessibility maybe. We do see the other messages. We can reuse the same message ID by having a data type provided along with it. Along. Start a review. Hooray! And instead of report issue, they are now inlining it. What? Okay. This seems like I don't know why they're doing this refactor. I don't know why. I guess this is not like, I guess you could call this a function that could be removed. I don't know. So where are we adding this stuff? All right. So first of all, we generally expect everything. Most new code, most ideally all. Most new code and ideally all new rule code. And ideally all new rule code to be covered by tests. Code cov is rightfully showing here that this isn't. One of 2 cases is possible. Whenever you have a gap in unit test coverage, if you're not finding a way to unit test the thing, like if the gap in test coverage is because you just cannot hit that piece of code, one of 2 things is possible. One, you're wrong, and then this should, one of these 2 cases is true. This case can be tested and should be, or this case is impossible and the type system is wrong. Meaning, use a bang to show that the next token does always exist. Like the type system has no way of knowing that source code got get token after returns something that's always truthy, if it is in fact the case here. I don't know. So if it is in fact the case that next token always exists, there's no reason to, if not, it just tell TypeScript, bang, it definitely exists. All right. So why are there 2 identical lines? It's if the node has decorators. Ooh, you could simplify this just a little bit. If node question mark decorator. Ugh. I keep dropping my wristband. I need to get one that has like a stickier base. Node decorators dot length. I think this should work. We don't have like any lint rules against this explicit null safety type of thing. All right. Yeah. Just a nitty little nit. All right, so get missing accessibility suggestion is used in, okay, so well, I don't know why they removed the function, because like this is new code that's being used the same way in like 4 times. So I'm gonna ask here. I mean, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's a good reason. Sorry, why is this being removed? It looks to me like it was serving a good purpose. This new function is getting called a bunch of times. functions. Feels like this, like it would be nice to wrap those identical-ish calls in this utility function, no? Alright. So the main thing that I generally am most likely to request changes on is lack of test coverages. Or lack of test coverage. And I already know I'm going to request changes because CodeCov pointing out that there's a lack. So here I'm just going to look at the tests now. See how these shape up. What has been added? Mark as viewed. I like this viewed feature. It's nice. Are there any other changes? Nope, just the, oh my god, 1,000 additions? Oh geez. Oh geez. Why is there a new trim on line 355? Why are you trimming? Is this, I know we have like weird things with output and stuff. Ooh, what's going on down here? Output. Leading decorators must be attached to a class declaration. Is this on line 1439? My god. There was some extensive tests in this PR. I don't know if I should be happy or sad that I have to review it. Oh, that's existing code. Oh my god. Alright. Never mind that then. Oh, I think I see why the trimming is happening for the output. But I'm gonna ask. Why is this trim here? Is it so the output is easier to format? For reference, I actually have a PR for this. I don't know if it's been merged yet. Oh, I think it's been merged. Prettier, where is it? I changed it so tests don't need output to be prettierified. Where is it? There it is. Stop linting, rule output formatting, and tests. Like this output thingy isn't. We don't lint this for white space anymore. So that should be easier. It's so the outputs don't need to be linted. Started reviewing, but there are, and found some blockers. Found a blocker in the lack of, or in the code of reports. Was there anything else that I was blocking on? I feel like there actually wasn't too much that I had to comment on. Okay, so in the, or in found blockers, code gov report, and unifying the message IDs. Left a few other questions too. I'll review in more detail. So many new lines of test code. Yay, you always want to be enthusiastic. Don't make people feel like it's a chore for you. Even if it is, because it's a fun chore. I like this, I actually do like this. Once those are answered. Thanks for sending this in. Cool. It's important to be positive and friendly and welcoming because that's the environment that we would want to work in. People were friendly and welcoming to me when I was getting into open source, otherwise I probably wouldn't have. Yay! Done with that. That's all the PRs that I'm going to review today. Oh boy. Triage issues. Oh, there's one from a week ago. First result for TSLint is 4.4 from our favorite other Josh. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, search is like weird on our site. I still need to learn more about this. We're on this like older Algolia. Oh my god. Like an older version or host or something of Algolia, and I don't know what's different about it. Let me tweet this. Next up, digging into our Algolia search infra bit. We should add redirects for all removed pages anyway. Yeah, that's true. So marking, accepting PRs for redirects. PRs to add redirects for removed pages. +1. Yay! And this is more the yeah, I guess it's a documentation. Alright, docs searching for a rule name does not return the rules page. Oh yeah, this has been bugging me for a while. Unfortunately, I'm pretty tired, and I'm just gonna call it. It's been a lovely stream for an hour and 10 minutes. If you have any more questions, now would be the time to ask. Always happy to chat. And also, any raid suggestions for who I should raid, please let me know. Feeling, well, there's only one suggested person on my followers, Finite Singularity, who's streaming right now. Let me know if I'm missing someone I should be, so I'll just raid them unless directed otherwise. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate your activity in the chat. TypeScript tea time. I will try to tune into your thing, your stream. Okay, that's it for me. Let's start the raid in 10 seconds. Five seconds. Toodaloo.